Hi everyone, it's Taylor the Daily Geddon. I just want to say thank you so much for the support on the last video. We have gotten a ton of views. I think it was up to 84 the last time that I looked. One of my highest viewed videos, so thank you so much, and I'm super glad to see that people are watching. Please subscribe because it is absolutely free and it makes me super happy. I'd like to see 100 subscribers, I don't know, by the end of the year maybe. We're up to 27 so far, so we're well on our way. But thank you so much for all of the support once again, and with that, let's get into it. In this video, we're going to continue talking about HR 1319, which is the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, which is the $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief bill that I'm sure so many of you have heard about. But today we're going to talk about Title II, and specifically two parts of Title II, Subtitle A and Subtitle D, and they have to do with investing in our education system and the public health right now, which I figure are two of the most important issues within this bill, because a lot of people want their kids to get back to school, and we're only going to do that by investing a bunch more money into them and making it safer for kids to go back to school, and also getting vaccines out to people. So let's start with Subtitle A. Subtitle A is very generically titled Education Matters. And what it does is it gives $125 billion to the Department of Education to then distribute to states based upon how many children each state has within it. Now, a child is someone defined as being from the ages of 1 to 17. There are a bunch of other very specific definitions of what a child qualifies as, but very generically, it's just a person that's ages 1 to 17. And then when those states get that money, they have to spend it on certain things. For instance, 7.5% has to be spent and given to local education agencies, and 20% has to be dedicated to summer enrichment. They specifically state that it has to be dedicated to summer enrichment to make up for education loss. Does that mean the government thinks that we're losing education and things by not being in school? Maybe. Take it out of what it says, but that's what it says in the bill. There are some very specific clauses like allocating money for private schools. The US government is giving $2.7 billion to the Department of Education to give to private schools across the entire United States. Also, since Washington, D.C. is technically not a state, they have to make a bunch of special provisions about all of the schools in Washington, D.C., or at least some specialty schools are listed out in the bill itself and giving certain amounts of money to each of those schools. The US government is also giving money to places of higher education, so universities, specifically those with endowments of less than $1 million. So they're targeting smaller and a little bit poorer schools to give money to so that they can keep going. And what I found funny about this is not that they're doing that and helping higher education, because that's totally fine, but the amount of money that they decided to allocate to this was very specifically $39,584,570,000. They had to come up with that very, very specific number, and for some reason couldn't round it up to 40 billion or 39 billion. I really don't get it, but that's what the bill says. Moving on to Subtitle D, which is entitled Public Health, it's all about giving money to government agencies to combat coronavirus by giving vaccines to as many people as possible and making it as smooth as possible to get the coronavirus vaccine. We're giving $7.5 billion to the CDC to basically make it easier and make it more available across the entire United States for everybody to get a vaccine. We're also giving them $1 billion to strengthen confidence in the vaccine. I know there's a lot of people out there that are thinking, I might not take it, I might wait till there's a little bit more research. Well, we are spending the money to basically market and advertise that we have done the research and all of these things have been through proper vetting to make sure that this vaccine works. The last part of Subtitle D kind of raised a little red flag in my mind, because it was about investing $6 billion in, yes, the supply chain for the COVID-19 virus, the one that we currently have. But it also mentioned research and things like that for any variants or mutations that might happen to the SARS kind of base virus that turned into COVID-19. And I know that people have talked about mutations in Europe and things like that across the world, and it's kind of scary to think that this thing could change into something else, but to me it raises a little red flag saying that they might know a little bit more than I do. Now, I'm not saying that that's definitely what's happening, and obviously I would have no way of knowing, but it gives me a little bit of insight to see that they are planning for the future at least, and maybe they think that this might be an outcome. So stay tuned, I guess. I know at the beginning of the video I only said we were going to talk about Subtitle A and D, but Subtitle E is really short and it's about testing. We're investing another $47 billion in testing and contact tracing. That's a lot of money to still be talking about testing and contact tracing. So obviously we're not thinking that we're completely out of the woods yet, which is probably a better safe bet than anything, but we're thinking about, hey, make sure that everybody can get a test still, even though we're talking about vaccines. Make sure everybody can get a test if they have it, and make sure that we know where this virus is still spreading in some hotspots. Also, there's $1.7 billion allocated in this section for genomic sequencing. Now, with absolutely no research or education on what genomic sequencing is, I can only assume that they're trying to investigate what exactly the virus is and the best ways to fight it, or where it came from, things like that. That is it for this video on the American Rescue Plan. I know it might not be as intriguing to a lot of people because it's not talking about everybody getting a bunch of cash, but it is extremely necessary to see where our government's priorities lie and see what they're trying to invest in order to combat coronavirus still, and make sure that everybody gets a vaccine and make sure everybody gets that vaccine safely. So with that, I want to say thank you. Please subscribe. I super appreciate it. Like I said, I have a goal, an internal goal to get to 100 subscribers. Right now we're at 27. So please help me accomplish that goal. Share the video, like, all that good stuff. Make sure you drop me a comment. Thanks guys. Have a good one.